Anonymous. Steven Trace Space, how are ya? Jim Z, how you doing? Is in the house on YouTube. Welcome to everybody on TikTok. Yo yo. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Simulation Talk 94. Yesterday there was a small skip. I literally ran out of time in the day. I literally could not do a live. I guess technically I could have, but I think it would not benefit anyone. I was just too run down yesterday. But today, I'm back in good old... Thanks, babe. It's whenever I start a stream. Make all the noise. It just runs around with pots and pans for no reason. That's hilarious. Okay, welcome everybody. How are you? How are the women in your lives? I love her to death. So yesterday I think I would not be very beneficial, but I'm back in good old US with a busted lip. But we're here, and we're gonna be clear, and other rhymes. Okay. We have right out the game. We have Ponzo saying, "Have you met B.O.B. yet? He's a nice gent. His 12th dimensional quantum computer is awesome." What do you want me to say to that? Like, seriously. Actually, his name is B.O.G. Would that be a proper response? Okay. So what should we dive into today? Today we, I guess I'm on a different time zone, so it's a lot earlier for more people, which is great. Oh my God. We have some great guests here today, see? And Michelle, they've changed their handle to Flib Dragon. I love it. If you can explain the meaning of it, that would be amazing. Welcome, everybody. Let's see if I'm not missing anything from the beginning so we can move on. Okay, great. Amazing. It was just one comment. Welcome, everybody, to Simulation Talk 94, the channel that usually revolves around the simulation hypothesis. Let's take this again. Welcome to Simulation Talk 94. This channel is usually revolving around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm claiming to have found actual proof that we live in a simulation. We meet here every single day to discuss the experiment that I've proposed a few years ago, the implications, as well as science in general, religion, spirituality, philosophy, God, whatever comes to mind, we discuss as long as it's fun, entertaining, engaging, and connecting. Those are the values of this live. You think Bob would approve? Awesome. Yesterday we skipped one day. I hope that's okay. I knew that I'm not gonna be like I'm okay with coming on when I'm tired, but not when I'm that tired, because I feel like I'm just, crankiness is at an all-time high, and my brain doesn't function at all, so it's not very beneficial. Today we can dive into some subjects, and we'll see what we do with it. To all the newcomers, if you would like to see more extensive content aside from what you see here on TikTok, the short videos, the longer versions of these videos all exist and live on my YouTube channel, which is Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts, and you can follow me across platforms. TikTok is Danny Goller, X is Goller Danny, Twitch is LaserX83, and YouTube is Dango Thoughts. Instagram is the same as TikTok. So we one more announcement that I have to make packaged into one. which is that, well, first of all, as many of you know, we're working on a documentary about the discovery and the project, and there's going to be a lot of fun things in this film. We are crowdfunding at the moment, so if you have the possibility, I do encourage you to donate whatever you can. It will help us to produce the film faster and with more attention to it. And you can find the link to donate in the link tree on TikTok and also in the trailer on YouTube. I have also started a membership plan on YouTube, and yes, I will say this every day to all the people that are rolling their eyes right now. This is new to me. I can't say that it will be ace right from the get-go, but I will improve quickly, and I will make sure that I'll be very attentive to what people want from these from the membership plan. Obviously, there's going to be more engagement with me personally, both on Zoom once or twice a month and on personal lives outside of the daily lives. And there's going to be a lot of other perks. This will allow me to focus on this project more full time. And I will also be very committed to give value to people versus just, having it one way. So all of that being said, let's dive into some questions that we have. 113, how are you? Good to see you. Yo as well. Gamma wave oscillation for the brain, Ebayed said. Okay, I don't. So statements, just so you know, statements are very difficult for me when I'm on a live because I don't know what you're trying to say with it. Like, I know that maybe it made sense in your brain, but maybe expand a little bit and tell me what you meant by that and what is the context of what you're saying. Matthew is saying, my father-in-law died, okay, while in hospice 10 minutes before he passed, 30 miles away. I wake in bed to hear him laughing, saying everything is okay. Sounded like he was in echo. Wow. Well, first of all, and then Matthew said, also energy don't die. So first of all, of course, I'm sorry that you lost your father. I don't know if this was long ago or now, recently. But yeah, it seems that we're going to have some streaming data coming in soon, not just from what I'm doing, but in general, there's some research coming in that shows that there's some data, both in reincarnation land and even what I discovered today through John Chavez, that apparently there's some data about NDEs, which like concrete data. I didn't dive into it, so I don't know the specifics. But usually John only interacts with things that have potential. So it's very interesting to me. Yeah. I see. Through the Amazon Echo speaker. Well, that makes sense because what I've noticed is that the way they communicate through I don't know what you want to call it, through the spaces, through the dimensions, through the universes, they communicate through anything that can emit random stochastic pattern of some sort. It can be visual, it can be audible. You can sometimes hear things in the fan in the shower. And yes, of course, if you want to take the physicalist perspective, you can always explain it away by saying, well, your brain makes a pattern from the sound. Sure, we're starting from two different starting points. If the axiom is that the physical world is prior and then consciousness arises somehow from the physical world, which, to be quite honest with you, at this point, I think it's an untenable position to hold. But if you believe that, then there's nothing that can be said to even reason with that, right? And this is not to say that it's not a valid way of seeing the world, because it is very useful to build certain things. But I do think that in order to understand and discover more things about the world, we have to play with different modalities. And they're not just heuristics and metaphors. Some of them are closer to what the real thing is. For example, a point that a lot of people bring up quite a bit, which is that, every time that there's some kind of a general paradigm that humans occupy, thank you so much for the likes, guys, then we see everything in terms of that paradigm. So, for example, when we developed a lot of mechanical things, we developed engines, the industrial revolution, everything was seen in terms of mechanical things. So the universe was a mechanism or an engine of some sort, and everything was kind of like it was basically a tendency to see everything through that lens. So under the same spirit, the idea is that now, because we have computers, we see everything in terms of computation. But this is one of these examples that I would claim that actually it's not quite the same thing, because computers represent something much more universal. They represent some kind of a function in the universe that is possible, computation, that is much less of a metaphor and a lot more an actual thing that is closer to what the world is actually doing. So it's not quite the same as saying it's an engine, because computation is a literally infinitely elastic thing. It's, whatever is doing complete can technically simulate anything. And that puts us in a different zone. So I would say that even though there are different ways of perceiving the world, some of them are more valid in the sense that they track what the world is actually doing closer. So that was a little tangent. I don't remember how we got there, but we're here now, and that's all that matters. The Yeti Show says, "Hey Dan, I'm a budding Indian YouTuber. Love from India, love back. Your experiments are cool and intriguing. I appreciate you, Yadi. Always good to see fellow travelers. I will check your channel." My God. I will check your channel later. I just saved it. The 51 Project is saying, "I experienced provable telepathy in an Aya ceremony a few years ago. Passed specific images to men I didn't know who repeated it next day. I once asked 40 people there who had similar and have said yes." So this is a great comment. It's a good dive in right here. I actually want to see if Michelle, are you here by any chance? Are you with us? And if so, would you be open to come on for just a short period? I want to ask you a couple of questions. You were very instrumental and helpful in help Jesus, helping me think about some of these things. So I want to see if you're around. First of all, also welcome to all the people that are newcomers and all the people that are my regulars. Love you all. Thank you for coming. Okay, let's see. I will address this point in one point. The 51 Project, I think it's an important point. Chad, to your comment, that was also done. I understand the idea that I've addressed. What's up, Nico? How are you? The priming concept a long time ago. Thank you so much for the gifts, brother. I appreciate you. So you can watch my YouTube video, the second YouTube video on the subject. I should probably memorize these names by now. But if you go to my YouTube channel, then go thoughts. In the beginning of a video called, this video was called, bear with me one second. It was the second video I ever put out on the subject on YouTube, and it's called The Name of the Molecule. Cannot name it here in the live chat, apologies. So the name of the molecule, laser experiment reveals visible code. Where do we go from here? That's the name of the video. But if you just go to my Dango Thoughts and you scroll down through all my videos, the thumbnail is just my face with a purple background. Okay, that's the video. In the beginning, I'm addressing your point in depth about priming and about all that stuff. But the general gist of the point is that it doesn't work that way. Priming does not give you 100% representation of whatever is implanted in your head. Priming works only on general attitudes towards things. And it is true that magicians, for example, can prime you pretty well and very specific, but not in observing content. They can influence your choice, which is a very different kind of thing. This is something that is very often being confused with the idea that people can just make you think about highly specific things, which is not true at all. And also, psychedelics in general don't work that way. So it's not like because I told you something, you're going to see it in the psychedelic space. The whole thing with the spirit molecule is that the content is completely orthogonal to what you see here. Completely. It's made out of completely different building blocks, have nothing to do with the space, completely alien. So the fact that you see code and you see specific code and it's always the same thing for everybody, and we now have over 1,000 people that replicated this, I would say the idea of priming is kind of out the door at this point. Also, you don't even need that. If you see it for yourself, you will know immediately that you're looking at something real. There's something about the way that it actually appears that tells you that. And in addition to all of that, specifically what you just mentioned, which is try and tell people something else and see if they actually still tell you the real thing, it was done multiple times. And people still report the same thing. They say, I didn't see this thing that you told me, but I did see these Japanese looking characters. So all of that was done. This is something that is very important. This is the reason why we're talking about it with so much confidence also. I have seen the code our reality is made of. Thank you, Melanie, but I don't know the numbers and symbols. Thank you. Thank you for verifying this one more. Are there a finite number of characters? You can't, I don't know. There's just millions of them. Millions of them, they move really, really fast. You can't really hone in and like detect a pattern. But what you can see is that they're very specific and they're an actual thing. But no, it's imagine even in the movie The Matrix, right? Like, can you actually like zone in and like calculate how many characters are there? Maybe, I don't know, if you spend many hours with it. But in this case, with the laser, it's a lot more characters, and they move a lot faster, and they move in a much more complex way. So I don't think it's a tenable thing. I am now starting to appreciate more the fact that most people are really interested to see if we can decode the code and things like that. To me, it was never, I don't know why, I never thought that should be a central enterprise, at least at the moment, just because this is so in its infancy that we first have to establish even the relationships between what this code is doing and what our reality that we're familiar with is doing, like in very broad terms. Like, can you do something projected on a particular surface, create a magnetic field around it, project the light either close to the side of your head or the wall or whatever, do something around it that will create any distinct change in the behavior of the content of the code. Let's start there, right? We're talking about decoding it. That's like, we're talking about like you need to read directly from the cortex. You need to feed it into some kind of a super advanced chat GPT that can find a pattern. You're looking at, well, I guess at this point, nothing is going to be that far in the future because things are going to move very fast. But yeah, I think, at least for me, it seems, when I say obvious, I don't mean like I'm right about it. I'm saying that in my perception, my perception of the situation is that it's obvious that cannot be the focus at the moment. But of course I can be wrong, and if somebody can decode it, that would be incredible, but I don't see how that's possible with what we have at the moment. Okay. I wonder, do two people see the same exact code at the same time? Yes. I had 15 people in the room, and I'll report the same thing, talking about it in real time. Okay. Deja vu, oh my god, so weird. I have a video of white orbs flying in and out of light, making them flicker. And what you think about UFOs, multidimensionals. I'm not sure that I quite got the first part of the whole way you presented everything. You said, deja vu, oh my god, so weird. I have video of white orb. You have a video of white orb flying. So the white orb, by the way, there's at least what we think is a natural phenomenon that exists. It's called orb lightning, and they are very strange. Some say that they're actually conscious or things like that. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't rule anything out. But as far as we know, that's orb lightning, and we are not that familiar with the full mechanics of it. But at least it has a name. But it doesn't mean that we fully understand it. But yeah, they can pass through walls. They can do a lot of very weird things. I don't know if that's what you're referring to, but what my thoughts on UFOs? I don't know. I never seen a connection in that space between that space and UFOs, or what people report as UFOs. I've seen a UFO in person when I was younger. I know they're real, whatever they are, and I'm not sure what the connection is. Something tells me that there is a connection just because of the time in which it appears. Everything seems to be arising at the same time. But I can't say with any amount of confidence that I understand what that connection is. So that would be my thoughts. And if the UFOs that we see are in fact extraterrestrials, I would say yes, they have to be multidimensional, I would say. If I recorded the laser phenomena, yes, I have. And you can see it even on a video recording. I have a macro thought experiment that is interesting. Dreams are another reality themselves. Probably I am HO, accessing the base reality. I don't believe there's a base reality, first of all. I think that the whole thing is computational up to infinity. And what we mean by simulation is a slice of reality. So you can never get out of the simulation, so to speak. The simulation is everything that exists. Dreams another reality? I'm not so sure it's another reality. I think it's just more content that consciousness interacts with. The only reality, the way that I perceive it, is consciousness. It's in fact, I would say that I'm the closest thing to which I am is an idealist at this point. Matthew Hill is saying, I saw it in your video. Wow, you really see code. Wait, are you saying you saw the video? Or are you saying that you saw the code? It wasn't clear to me, Matthew, if you can clarify. Virginia Marie is saying, hello again, Dan. Good to see you. I have a couple questions. Thoughts? Go ahead. Do each of the symbols seem to have life and individual... I think you mean consciousness? Sensuousness? I think you meant to say consciousness, right? No. Sensuousness? I'm not familiar with this word. Let me see what that means. Sensuousness. I've never heard this word before. Interesting. Okay. Sensuousness is a noun that means the quality of relating to or affecting the physical senses. I did not know that word. That's wonderful. That's amazing. Of the expression physical pleasure, especially, I can't say that on TikTok for some reason. I don't know why. SEXual pleasure. Interesting. Wait. Sensuous. I'm dyslexic, so now you see it in action. That's how you spell sensuous? It's like sensual. It's coming from the same root. I did not know that. That's crazy. Also, it's hilarious sometimes. The level of my dyslexia is bananas. Is that what you meant? Do you feel that every character has some kind of a sex element to it? Why would you think that? I mean, real question, not like not in a derogatory way. I'm just wondering, like, why would that be? Like, I would never think of that. But no, I don't feel like they have a character, each one of them by themselves. That's kind of what I'm asking. You did answer already. How does it feel to see the numbers? What did it make you feel? I mean, you're amazed. You're kind of blown away by the fact that it's possible. I'm not sure. I can tell you that from different people, it's different. Like some people are just blown away and it inspires them that there's something more. Some people freak out a little bit. I guess they didn't expect to actually find out. This is why now whenever I show somebody, I always tell them, look, like, even if they nod, like, yeah, I go, no, like, you can't unsee this. So your discretion is advised. Is it easier to see the code in a dark room? It's easier to see it in an in-between. If it's completely dark, you're going to have too much light, you're going to have too much contrast, and it's actually going to make it harder. So if you have one lamp somewhere in the house, you can just, easily, you can see it easier. Not aimed at where the laser is, but somewhere in the apartment. One thing that, by the way, thank you for the gift. Who's the gifter? Thank you so much, 40 on Kick. I appreciate you. Deeply appreciated. Where was I? Another thing that people asked me about the protocol today. Nobody asked here, but somebody emailed me a couple of times, and I wanna, if one of you or some of you read the protocol online, let me know. The person said that it was very confusing to them about the dosage. It seems to me like it's pretty straightforward and clear in the protocol, but please let me know if I'm wrong. Like, if it's not clear, I'll make sure that we try and clarify more. But maybe I'll repeat it here. Maybe that person is here. I'm not sure. But you have two main ways to do it. And the reason we don't put exact quantities of things is because it's very individual. It can change from person to person, and it can change from the same person with different times, depending on how much you ate, how much you slept. And yes, there's a ballpark, but I feel like it's actually better to teach people how to pay attention to their own state. So you have two ways to go about this. One of them is you launch. So you do whatever full amount you need to do to go. And when you get back, after however long, if you feel called, like if don't do it, don't force it. Like if you got some kind of a life message or whatever, you have the transformation, you don't need to push and go like, all right, now laser. Like don't worry about it. Like the first thing is to make sure that you have a relationship with the molecule, you're paying attention. All of the stuff that shamans would explain or guide you through have to be in place. You kind of have to be your own master in that sense, but you have to pay attention. Don't push if it doesn't feel right at that moment. It's very important to pay attention because it speaks to you. You speak to you. There's a lot of things happening, and that's a very important element of it. And that, by the way, can also change the quantities of things that you need. If you're very connected, or if you fully relaxed, you do a tiny bit and you'll be out. If you're filled with adrenaline and whatever else that you're doing, I mean, you can do like a bunch of it and nothing's going to happen, or very little is going to happen. This is why we don't put the quantities there. But if you launch, then you come back and you feel how it goes, and if you feel good, great, go and explore the laser. Just vape a little bit and kind of look at it and explore. The other way, if you don't feel like launching, you have to kind of inhale maybe 2-3 seconds, wait like 10-15 seconds, exhale, then wait good 2-3 minutes. Okay, after that, do another one, 3 seconds, wait another 2-3-4-5 minutes. Just feel it. Don't go into hyperspace, just stay in the space. After maybe 3 or 4 of these, okay, now you kind of, it's almost like a steam cooker. You release some of the pressure, so now the chances you're going to go to hyperspace are lower. Now you can sit and explore just like you would if you would launch before. And if this is still vague to you, I would say you need a little bit more experience with the molecule before you even engage with the laser, because it's also very important to kind of know what you're doing. And if you are in a state where everything I just said is just too confusing, that means you need a little bit more experience, and you need to also probably find somebody with experience to help you and guide you. These would be my main advice. Who told me about the code? I am the person who discovered it, Dark Baguko. So nobody told me. Has anyone ever told you that you look a lot like Nick Mullen, the comedian? I have so many people compare me to, from Jesus to Messi to, I don't know, what is it? Keanu Reeves. Now it's Nick Mullen. Let's see. Another one for the list. Oh yeah, I can kind of see that. That's cool. It's funny. More when he had his short hair. With his long hair, he actually has a very different vibe, which is interesting because I have long hair now. Okay. But I can totally see it. Spot on. The symbols were in one of my experiences, and they seem very sentient and alive. I see. So Virginia, just so you know, a lot of people email me. Literally the most common email I get is, I see the code without the laser, or I see the code without the molecule, or both. And what I usually discover when I press forward with people is that that's a different code. What we see in the laser seems to be a different kind of code. It's much more rigid in its essence. It seems to be much closer to what you would call objective reality. So it doesn't care so much about what you want, feel, do. It's just what it is. And even the people who kind of insisted that, people are very spiritually connected, and they insisted, they're like, no, you'll see. Like, I'll interact with it. And they always come out of it going, yeah, okay, that is different. Like, I can't do anything with it. It's just, it doesn't care. The code doesn't care. So the code that you're describing, I know what you're talking about, or at least I know of the kind of thing you're talking about. I also see something like that on the molecule, in the molecule space. But that code is much more malleable. It's much more responsive to what you want, what you care, what you pay attention to. And from what you're describing, it sounds to me like it's much closer to that, what you're saying. Thank you, Rosalind. I appreciate you. These codes, they basically interact with closer to what you are as a unit, as a conscious unit. So you can change it with your attention. You can probably interact with it. You can get some attention from it. Rosalind, thank you so much. I appreciate you. But the code in the laser seems to be coding for just the physical stuff. Like it actually doesn't care. And I know that some people think that even that is part of your doing. You know, people say things like, "This is this is your projection. This is the higher self." I get it, but I think it's just on the face of it wrong in the sense of this level of emergence. You can say that maybe at some point when we become more and we ascend or we become more aware of everything, you have a possibility to maybe create a more, maybe you even that code becomes more malleable to you, maybe. But at the moment, as you are, I always say simple, you can't walk through a wall. The wall doesn't care how you feel. You can't walk through it, right? And ignoring that fact, I feel like it's kind of betraying reality a little bit. I think it's important to, even though we want to understand more about our potential and about what humanity can grow into, I'm all for that. And I'm very open to a lot of different things. But I think forgetting that fact and not acknowledging it is also doing a disservice to human understanding. I think that's it. There's no need to slide into delusion in order to entertain interesting and fascinating and amazing things. That would be my position. Did you say you got the code on video? Did I misheard that? You mean if you record it? Yeah, you can. If you record it with a video or you put it on the picture, even you can still see it while you're on the molecule. Looking forward to an interview with the night shift. Oh yeah, I'm excited about that one. That should be fun. Sentience. Wait, what? Hold on. Let me connect this. Okay. Sorry, I don't understand. He'll catch on, hopefully. Sentience, is that the word that you meant? Because that's a very different kind of spelling and also different kind of meaning. So I'm not sure. And also, don't, if you're talking about me, don't count on me catching on. There's like, I'm looking at like two different chats, and usually these chats I'm doing them already in the evening when my brain is like, and I really am dyslexic. So like reading things is actually very difficult for me. So like if I have a piece of information that just doesn't make any sense, I'm moving on because I can't. There's a million people, you know. So like not a million yet, but there's a lot of people that have to kind of like look through their comments. So if you want me to really understand, you're gonna have to say it again, unfortunately, until I install a new brain. Oh, that's what autocorrect kept doing. Got it. Okay, that's hilarious, actually. Please elaborate on the video recording of the code. Have you uploaded the video if cameras can capture? So it doesn't matter what video it is. Like I'm talking about in general. If you record it with a video, there's nothing special about any particular recording of the code, okay, of the laser. Any recording of the laser, if you're on the molecule, you'll see the code is what I mean. So there's nothing special about any particular recording. And again, I don't know if you were here, Lucid Truth, for me, what I was saying about analyzing data. That's, I don't think it's possible at the moment, so I'm not even focusing on that. Do each of the symbols seem to have their own individuality and life and are various? I mean, it's the same question, right? I work for one of the top-ranked research universities in the world. If I can be of any help getting you inroads to make progress on this work, please let me know. Absolutely, of course, that would be incredible. 40 on Kick. I appreciate also your donation, and you can always email me, and I respond to all my emails. I know that some of you are a little disgruntled that it took me more than a week plus to respond to some people. I was just filming and every day, all day, and it was very difficult to keep up with the emails. But I always respond at the end, always. And what you're saying is extremely valuable, so of course I will. And also, guys, when you email me, at this point, there is a potential volume of emails. So if you guys can please do me a favor and don't write, like 20 paragraphs about something. Think about what you want to say, write a good paragraph so I can absorb what you're trying to say, and then we can start an interaction. It's much easier. At this point, I have to kind of skip the emails, like write a whole story. I can't read it. Sometimes people write, like they just literally copy paste things that they ask ChatGPT. I'm like, come on, Like, you put in none of the work to actually think about what you want to say, and you want me to read this whole thing from ChatGPT. I can't interact with these emails, and it's a shame because I want to answer everybody until I can't, but at the moment I still can. Just please put an effort and think what you want to say, make it succinct. No need for more than one paragraph. There's nothing that you can say with one paragraph, at least the beginning of a conversation. So that's my email, and I'm gonna put it right here. lasersimulationx@gmail.com, correct? Yes. And I would love to talk to you about that, of course, and that would be great. Okay. TikTok, I'm coming in a moment to you. The symbols were in one of the experiences, and they seem very sentient and alive. Oh, wait, I read this. Okay, we're going down here. Let me save you. Thank you, 40. Hello, Ali. Love these. I love the emojis. They're awesome. And does the laser light seem to light up the symbols, and does the light reflect off the symbols, or does the laser light merely seem to be dissolve the veil to the space? No, it's the former. Like, it just reveals them. It's nothing esoteric like this. So, like, I don't even know what it would look like if a veil is dissolved. Do you? Because I don't understand what that means. Like, I don't understand what that means in practical terms. What would be the difference in the visual if something is a veil is dissolved, right? I don't know what that would look like. But no, it's definitely it's just revealing like a flashlight, literally. How did you know how to use the laser? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Oh, to unveil the code? I mean, there's a whole story behind it. That's what the documentary is about. It's how I figured it out. Well, I mean, it's part of what the documentary is about. Can you see it on mushrooms? Also, does the code look like any existing language? Yes, you can. It will take you a little bit more. It will take you probably like 3.5 grams at least. It also works on Aya. I know this because a shaman tried this in one of his ceremonies, and all the people in the ceremony saw it. And does it look like a language that already exists? Yeah. The closest it looks like is kind of like in the Matrix. So very, very similar to Japanese katakana, mixed with some Hebrew letters and regular numbers from 0 to 5. Again, I want to emphasize these are all adjacent things that kind of look like it, but not exactly. So I don't think there's a significance to exactly what language that is. Maybe I'm wrong, but my intuition tells me that's not what matters there. Like, there's something about this language that I think is very unique, but I don't think it's any of our languages. So, okay, let me do some wow lad said 00000000001000001000010. I hope you didn't say nothing about my mama. I was going to send a novel written by Terence McKenna GPT. Don't. If you didn't do the work, don't share it. If you did the work, I will absolutely read all of it. Just send it, and then my ChatGPT will read it. It's just like, here, you read this. Hey Leilani, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Ooh, and just jump down on us. How can I find out what molecule? Just Google the spirit molecule. But I think somebody answered you on the bottom, right? What is the dose? Go to www. Do you ever have to say that anymore? Why did I say that? You never have to say that. So, but I did. So I think I'm the only person in 2024 who said www. I'm very proud of this. But if you go to codeofreality.com, codeofreality.com, and there's a protocol there. In the protocol, there's an explanation of how you should gauge how much you should do. No, it says, I love your mom. Oh, thank you. Have you had a language expert view the code? Again, I don't think it's where the thing is. A language expert will not help here, I believe. I think it's way early in the process to involve a language. I think the amount of information will require an actual AI to go through it. I don't think any person can do this at the moment. How do I learn to read code? I think you go to school for that, no? Are you open to doing other YouTube interviews? I'd love to chat with you. Oh yeah, absolutely. I do them all the time. If the vibe is right and there's no feeling of kind of dressing things up in platitudes, I'm all in. Thanks. Absolutely 40 on Nick. Are you open to doing... I see. I think you posted on both. Yes. So the answer is yes. Elusive Truths is saying, so 1, you must use the molecule, and 2, the symbols are the same for all that see them, and 3, if you record, if you can only see the code on the video if you are using the molecule. Correct. All 3 are correct. You got it. Hello, Ellie. Good to see you, Leilani. Appreciate the gifts and great to see you here. Also, Nico, question for you. Okay, so you wanted. Oh, love you. How are you? You wanted to. Thank you so much. Ooh, I haven't seen this one before. I like the ring. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. So, question. You asked ChatGPT to write a novel written by Terence McKenna, right? Are you reading it? It's like, is this entertaining to you? Because I am interested to see, like, I had this conversation with John Chavez like a year ago, and I would say even as closest to like argued about it, right? And his position was this is going to basically destroy our ability to think and all that stuff. And I said, I'm not so sure. But now I'm like observing different trends, right? And I want to see who was right. So I wonder, like, you asked ChatGPT to write a novel as Terence McKenna. I know you do it for entertainment. I know you use your brain all the time, so there's no danger your brain is going to atrophy. I get that. But do you feel that this tool makes you better in this way? Do you get something out of the novel? Is it entertainment? Was it just a fun, thing that you wanted to do? And like, who's going to see it? What is the value behind it, right? Because my suggestion to John was that I think that, and this is a very optimistic view, obviously, but I said that what I think we will do with it is that we'll be able to interact with levels of meaning that is much greater, because we'll be able to break down a lot more information faster, and we'll be able to build on top of that versus just kind of like asking it to do all of our work. So in the spirit of that, because I don't know, maybe John was right, I want to see where it's actually leaning in the real world. So that's the question to you. Do you think do you like the word cyberdelic? Ooh, is that what Terence wrote? Okay, that's already valuable all by itself. That's what ChatGPT wrote as Terence. Cyberdelic is amazing, even though it has like a slightly different role to it. Like, it doesn't sound like what it's supposed to be. But I love it. I love the word. Love, Terry. Thank you. Love you, Whittle. Who's Terry? Oh, Terence McKenna. See, dude, I'm like, at a certain point, my brain checks out. I love Terence McKenna was my inspiration to think in creative directions about this. And in fact, I don't know how many of you heard my podcast with Soma. If you haven't, it's a great podcast. It's the first podcast I've ever done on the subject. It's Soma, SOMA, and I think it's the name of the molecule. Living in the name of the molecule simulation. That's the name of the episode. I know it sounds confusing, but I can't say the name of the molecule. So, Soma. If you just do Soma Danny Goller, I think you're going to find it. But in it, I'm talking about that first instance where I saw this frog dude appear in front of me, which has started this whole journey. It was years before I discovered the laser. But what was on my mind when I saw that was something that Terence said, which is, what if this is not a DRUG? What if this is an alien that is disguising as a DRUG? And that thought sparked this whole thing where they literally started talking to me directly. So, and I know I'm not the only one, obviously, but Terence played a central role. And in fact, we will honor Terrence. I think he needs to be a lot more known, and I'm going to make sure that that happens, because a lot of people are not aware of who he was, which is just I can't compute. More people need to know who he was, so we're going to make sure that people know. And so I fully agree with you, Lovey Wheaties. It doesn't feel special, but it does seem profound sometimes. Interesting. I didn't ask about special. Do you feel, though, that it actually gives value? How do you think the Matrix movie coincidentally understood something like this? Well, first of all, the idea is not. This is just the idea is actually not random, right? So this is maybe. So let me actually address this point in one moment. This is a very, very, very good question, and I want to address it, give it the proper attention. So I'm going to save it right now. I'm going to respond to it in one moment. I'm going to go through a few more comments so people don't feel left out. Jason Silva has philosophical discussion with an AI version of Terence McKenna. Very interesting. Cool. He was a taught self-diagnosed schizophrenic. His vocabulary was stunning. Yeah, no, that is not true. He was definitely not a self-diagnosed schizophrenic. He was talking a lot about the value of schizophrenia and how we frame it wrongly in society, but he was definitely not a schizophrenic himself, nor was he self-proclaimed schizophrenic. But yeah, he was probably the best speaker of all time. He could literally paint with words. Terrence is one of my all-time favorites, by far. I found the podcast by Googling you. There you go. Amazing. Thank you, Zero Phonic. Terrence is actually one of my inspirations, to be honest. The film will reference him. I don't know, but I am working on an actual feature film about Terrence. So we'll see how that goes. I got my start in mycology thanks to McKenna. Amazing. So are you a mycologist, by the way? I'm guessing you know Bufo alvarius frog, of course. GPTs are power neural networks that find relationship between words. So the answer is a reflection of your question. Yes, but I feel that is the truth about any informational pattern, don't you think? I feel like ChatGPT is just a very dialed-in version of that. Or you disagree? Would you disagree with that? Let me address the question, because this was a great question. Let me go back to it. Cyberdelic is amazing. So the question was, how do you think the Matrix movie coincidentally understood something like this? The thought that comes to me when I hear this question is, so there's certain ideas that you can say they arise out of a random pattern and then we dress them up, right? So you can say that about a certain plot for a film that is very original, because most ideas about plots, they're kind of like all done, right? But even those, they arise out of a pool of certain possibilities that we're all familiar with, because they rely on a limited scope of what's possible, if not by actuation, by the laws of physics. Like, you can't write a realistic story about people who hover in the room, right? Unless it's some kind of a metaphor or something. But there's always a restriction that binds. It's almost like there are these attractors that consolidate ideas into these batches. Certain things just follow other things. So the second we have computers, and the second it's possible, we see that it's possible to simulate things visually, audibly, and in any other way of the way that we perceive content or information, then it just kind of follows that it's possible that maybe one day we'll create an environment that will be indistinguishable from the real world, what we call the real world. And then, it lends itself to a lot of different scenarios. So the idea of the Matrix is not that crazy. Now, if you're talking about the specificity of the language, that it looks exactly like what we see in the laser, that's a great question. The best potential answer I have is that creative people are kind of dialed into what the ether, I'm using the ether metaphorically here, whatever the computational, the behind the scenes is doing. So it picks up on that. So your brain, if it's very creative, it will pick up on ideas and elements that are true, but you don't think of them as true. You think it's like imagination. It's like it's a thing that makes sense to you as an artist. I believe the same happened with Douglas Adams and the number 42 and the Hitchhiker's Guide of the Galaxy. It's not like I think that the number 42 actually means something, even though it might, to be quite honest, because the universe is not without its sense of humor. But the fact is, which is what also Nico was alluding to here, the fact that it's asking the right questions and asking better questions is what drives progress much more than the types of things that you manufacture as a result of these questions. That is a very universal truth. How advanced a civilization is can be easily gauged by the types of questions that the civilization asks itself as a whole. So notice, you can see this with individual people, and you can definitely notice this with nations, and you can definitely notice this with the result of a certain civilization. A very advanced civilization is not going to be asking itself, mundane questions like, how do we produce enough wealth? They already know that. They know how to produce all the wealth they need. So they have no poverty. They have none of that, right? So they're going to be asking better questions. How do we create more meaning? How do we connect more with the world? How do we create a more worthwhile experience to be in the world, which I believe is what we're starting to interact with now, right? How do we expand into the universe and explore more and make more interesting and beautiful things? These are better questions. Now, you have to ask the less good questions to get to the better questions, so you can ask the better questions. But the questions are the thing that drives the real progress. And I think that thought, even though it was just like this philosophical, creative, beauty that Douglas Adams came up with, but I think that he essentially excavated it. It's not like he came up with it. This is a truth about the universe, and he picked it. And if you would ask him, he would say, "Oh no, I was just high out of my mind, and I just came up with this idea." But no, I don't think so. I think he doesn't even realize that I picked up on something very real, right? And I think everything is like this. And the more creative you are, the more you're going to be interacting with things that are real, that somehow are going to sip through into your literature, into your movie, into whatever genre of creation you have, and it will manifest through it. That's how I think very often what we thought was fiction all of a sudden becomes reality. And very often. It can also go through a different trajectory, but I think very often that's what happens. And actually, maybe to linger just a second about this asking the right questions, it's this is worth emphasizing, because the types of questions people ask you really say a lot about who they are and what kind of life they tend to lead, and also where their focus is at, right? If people ask you questions trying to invoke some gossipy elements out of you, well, you know where their focus is, right? And to my opinion, that's a lower level question, because it's arbitrary. Because to know things about other humans in context of like who said what to whom, it can only come from, well, obviously it can come from like an entertainment element, but I think it comes more from like a cautionary thing where you just like you got to be careful, like what this person does or this person does. If you look a little bit above that, then you usually ask questions about more universal connection, like how did you do this thing? Maybe I can learn from you, right? It's a much more direct and a better question. How do you think about things creatively? These are better questions. And now you go higher. It's like how we as humanity, how do we fold our own personality? Nico, thank you so much. I appreciate you, brother. How do we proceed, and how do we think about ourselves in the context of a better humanity? Like, what kind of human do I want to be if I want to be a part of this kind of humanity, right? Which is the only thing you can really influence. So asking the right questions, I think, is big key, and putting emphasis on it, I think, is very important. What was the website? Which one, Aubrey? Are you talking about our website? It's codeofreality.com. No, it's www.codeofreality.com. It's fun. There's something very satisfying about saying www or the World Wide Web. I don't think anybody said these words in maybe over 5 years at least. Anyways, it's codeofreality.com. That's the website. What if our minds are behind the scenes, or is the molecule playing off our minds behind the scenes? Can you restate the question, Rosalind? I'm really trying to understand. I don't want to, there's like 3 different directions that I can take your question in. I prefer to take it as you meant it. So if you can restate it, please. Funkworm is saying, I'm a mycologist, been a minute, but very interesting. That's awesome. Okay. We're going back to YouTube for 1 second. Ooh, we have a lot of comments. Oh, and we have comments from Twitch. I'm very happy. How are you, Smarty888? I'm gonna read this first. Sorry, guys, because this is a special occasion. I don't get a lot of comments from Twitch. You get told children book stories; those steered the imagination and morals, etc. Reckon ChatGPT is similar. Told children book stories. I see what you're saying. And again, I'm of the same mind. Like, I do think that ChatGPT is a new opening for something much greater. I am all for it. But if I have to follow the scientific method, or at least the rationale of the scientific method, I have to be aware of what the real thing is, right? I have a lot of ideas about it, but I want to see how it actually unfolds in the world. So to ask people who I know are very authentic and real, and are also capable, intellectually, is very valuable to me to see how they view it. But I'm all with you. I mean, I'm all for ChatGPT. Okay. If I were a creator and I created a virtual world to experience others when other doesn't really exist except for in the construct I created, I wouldn't be bothered by the tedious at create code to Scott Williams. Wait, I think you didn't finish the sentence there. Scott Williams. Okay, I'm going to proceed, and maybe you restated it later. One last question. Have any of you attempted to draw any of these symbols, and where can I see them? It's in the trailer, Elusive Truth. I don't know if you saw the trailer, but it's literally the last video in my YouTube channel. It's the trailer for the film that we're working on. And in the beginning, you have this, you see a piece of paper with like a red thing in the middle. And on the left, you see digits. These whatever they are, that's what, it's very close to what the code looks like. Now, it's not like individually like this. It's very, very, very messy and complex, and a lot is happening there. But that's essentially what the individual characters seem to look like. Have I considered stacking the laser on top of each other? Yes. You can absolutely do that. It's weird, though, because when it's narrower, it's actually easier to see it for some reason. Maybe because your mind focuses on it. I'm not sure. Have you ever pondered the possibility that by discovering... Ooh, I like this one. Not actually, this came out wrong. It's not because I'm trying to be a king of some kind. This is just like a fun like illustration, because usually all these graphics on TikTok, they're very CGI. This one was just like, I looked like the Little Prince or something. That was a fun one. Thank you. Have you ever pondered the possibility that what you discovered... Wait. Okay. I can do this. Have you ever pondered the possibility that by discovering what is potentially the code underlying reality, whatever entity is running the simulation might reboot since this poisoning the sim? Not sure. I mean, I asked the space before I put out the first video, and there seemed to have been support for it. Also, they directly told me. Like, I asked, Mandalam's Cakes! Oh my god, I haven't seen you in ages. So good to see you. Yeah. There you go. Thank you, Zero. These are fun. Now I understand, by the way, a little bit why the people, the people to do the avatar thing, when the people give them gifts and they act out the gifts. I mean, aside from the fact that it is quite creepy, I do understand that there's a fun component in acting those out. Just thinking, wow, these are so much fun. Love you too. Maybe I'll start doing that. Like once a week, I'll just do a live where I just do this, or whatever it is. Have you ever? Okay, so yeah, so I asked the space. The space was in support of that, and they didn't have to tell me. Like I literally kept on asking, and eventually they just showed me, yes, this is simulated. So even without the code, so I'm like, okay, well, So is it possible? Yeah, I do see sometimes, by the way, that they don't fully agree. Like it's not like everybody are of the same opinion. Just like with us, different beings have different opinions. I'm pretty sure that they probably have some hierarchy or a very, very rigid hierarchy actually, and they have like I don't know if it's a court or a rule of law or whatever it is, but they have a way to make decisions. It seems like they're more of a hive mind. And there are disagreements. I do notice that sometimes that people kind of like, no, people should know, or like, but it's not like, I don't know, like I understand the, how should I phrase this? I get it. Like I understand that people like, you playing with something here that's like reality is okay, but like it's discoverable. The majority of what I saw in the space is like this is not a secret. There's no law against it. If you can figure it out, you can know and you can be whatever. But beyond that, what can you do, right? It's all a conversation. And it is interesting to me that sometimes the people that are the most anti-establishment, they're also the most the ones that express the sentiment of, well, there's a line there, like you interact with, like, forbidden by whom? Like you're anti-establishment. Isn't this the ultimate establishment? Like what is the rationale here? Anyways, I don't know. I can only take it moment by moment, and I can only take it according to what I see is true for the moment. And the best way I found to go about this is that every time I talk about it, even here on the live, and especially to individual people, I always pay attention to what it feels like in my body. If it flows, if it feels light, if it feels good, and there's a connection, and I feel okay. I take this as a sign. I'm supposed to be doing this, right? If it feels, sometimes you would speak to a particular person, and all of a sudden there's like a closing, just like nope, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to talk about that to that person, and I pay attention. But that's the best I can do, and I think it's the best that we all can do. I hope this answers your question. Have you explored diacetyl goggles? No, not yet. Red light night vision or modified cameras that can capture the infrared spectrum. There are numerous conspiracy theories surrounding this prohibition. Yes, I'm not aware of any prohibition. As far as I know, that is just a flat lie. There was never a prohibition of these things. You can just go and buy everything you just mentioned. You can buy it online. Second of all, yeah, because if you notice, most of these conspiracy theories, they thrive on the fear that they create, but the fear is surrounded around some claims that are just not true. So this is one of them. Like, there's prohibition. There isn't prohibition. You can go online right now and buy everything you said. But also, no, I have not interacted with all of it. The truth is that I have a list of, no exaggeration, at least 100 experiments that I can run. It's a matter of time and budget and all of these things we're working on, and probably going to save a lot of it for the documentary as well. It's going to be fun to discover these things in real time. I'm a huge fan of Richard Feynman, and he famously said, if it disagrees with experiment, it's false. And I'm a big believer of that. So we're going to find out what's true and what's false. Evan Swanson is saying, I just experimented with the green 5 milliwatts diffracted laser. It seemed like I could see larger structures that the code makes up. Yes, sir. Wait, or ma'am. No, Evan, right? Almost like it's easier to see how they clamp together. Heard of this? Yeah. I always say that the green and the blue, when I tried it, there's more content aside from the code, and the code seems to be doing something more complex. I was talking about it quite extensively, and I'm pretty sure that every frequency has its own little quirk like that, which is very interesting. So, but thank you for sharing, Evan. Mechanical elves, my thoughts also maybe polarized mechanical elves. Oh, okay, that's the name of a account. Got it. Smarty888 from Twitch, always excited to get comments from Twitch, is saying a shaman picks up on those aspects and has the ability to translate and transmit them for the individual until they are ready to experience the question for themselves. Sure. Evan Swanson, I also experimented with the blue and violet, but they seem less profound. Blue and green together did seem to illuminate the characters pretty well. Let me solve a puzzle. Green was by far the most interesting. I would agree with that. Did you guys see in the green, did you see the arrows? It kind of looks like the arrows from the, recycling symbol. Did you see that? I wonder. Neoman is saying, Evan, how was the green interesting? Okay. I'm also interested. Virginia Marie is saying possibilities are endless. Consciousness is all one and it's never disconnected from itself. It's possible decoding is a way for it to keep the illusion believing it's so separated. So, Virginia, I'm on record saying this a lot. So my regulars would already know what I want to say about this, but I'm engaging with the public because I want to understand what matters to people. So everything you're saying is valuable to me because it's important for me to know that that's what's important for people. But this is a real question from me to you as the person who's representing this kind of way of looking at things. What is the meaning of this, right? So when you say it's all one, consciousness is all there is, and which, by the way, I agree with ultimately, it has to be. But what is the meaning of that for you? Does that make you feel better about what the situation is? Real question. Is it about the feeling that it resonates with inside of you that makes you feel, right? Or is it that you think that this truth claim somehow drives something that we can't do otherwise? Possible. I personally can't see it. Saying we're all one to me sounds like saying everything is everything. The connection of so for example, for Christians, the idea that God is a separate being is the meaningful thing. So for them to say we're all God is almost sacrilege, right? So it will be the opposite of feeling connected and divinity and good, because they see the world in a particular frame. So my question to you, is this a frame that makes you feel better about the world? Because I feel that it's kind of like on a low level, it's kind of like saying potatoes or fries. Fries are not potatoes, not in the time when they're fries. They're made out of the same thing, but fries taste different. They have a different texture. They're separate. They're not one thing. There's a different experience to fries than there is to a potato. So even if ultimately we're all one, what is the significance of pointing that out when you're in a state in which you're not one? Real question. The interesting question is how much of us asking the right questions help to program the AI as the collective manifestation of the human condition in order to then program the collective to become more coherent. Yes, I would say that is actually where I would say that the validity of seeing us as a universal mind comes into play, because if we see that it's the collective information that combines into into one entity, which is expressed through what ChatGPT is doing, is actually a technically valid and relevant tool, conceptual tool, that helps us drive progress faster because we encapsulate humanity in a universal function that then expresses itself through this thing, which we at the moment will call ChatGPT. I wish seen this sooner. Is this an open Q&A? Absolutely, Ebony McKicass. Chavez. I just heard about Dan today. Awesome. Welcome. We're sentient AI in biosuits that are trying to create AI within the illusion. What is the point of calling it an illusion if your experience of it is the only real thing you can ever claim? So it doesn't matter how it came about. It doesn't matter if there's like a lot of layers underneath. If you stub your toe right now, that's real. You can say all day long that this is all an illusion. That hurts. And that's real. So to you as an experience, that's real. When you fall in love, that's real. You can say all day it's an illusion, but it's real. I would say it's the opposite. The only thing that is real is right here, right now, what you're experiencing right now. To say that this is an illusion is not just missing the point, is literally putting the whole truth container upside down. This is the only real thing. This. There's nothing else that is real and can never be real. So everything you might experience at some point in the future, if there's going to be a unified thing, we all become one, at that point, you're not going to have a self. You're not going to have an understanding of the self. There's not even going to be anything to talk about. So what is the point of pointing that out when the beauty of experience and everything that you can experience that is very real is right here? Engage with it. I always say this, if this is not magical, this physical, the fact that you can go eat something amazing, the fact that you can go have sex with somebody amazing, the fact that you can go and explore life and the pain and all of that stuff. If this is not amazing, nothing in 5D, 8D, 12D is going to be amazing. It's a choice. It couldn't, I see it the exact opposite of that. This is real. This is not an illusion. This is not a drill, folks. This is real. And the fact that I'm calling it a simulation in the context of a computational system just means that it's a slice of a much larger reality. It does not mean it's fake. It's the opposite of fake. Feel free to rebuttal, of course. I'm always down for a fun discussion. And thank you for all the likes, guys. And I will also encourage, I don't know, because on YouTube I can't really see it, but across all platforms, X and YouTube and Twitch, if you guys can show some love and click the like button, that would be awesome because it helps the algorithm. And thank you so much, everybody on TikTok, for all the likes. I appreciate it. Welcome to ask a question, and just leave a comment and he'll generally get around to reading it. Don't forget it to like the stream too. Thanks, Chavez. Wow. The only time I've seen glyphs like hieroglyphs was on I need to come up with keywords for these molecules, because on TikTok you got to be very careful. Let's call it Hoffman. On Hoffman. If this is a simulation, are the entities we see in the spirit molecule space and the spirit molecule space itself closer to what reality really is? Great question, Ebony McKick-ass. I would say yes, and I would define more real according to how much closer it is to what the more universal system is doing. Yes, Ebony, but he's speaking about objective code that everyone can see with multiple people in the room, and you can point to a specific spot and they all see the same specific thing. That is exactly right. Let me connect this thing. Yeah, is discovery code? Yeah. So this code seems to be what we call objective. I code up a bit after seeing the trailer for upcoming doc. Thank you so much. Like the stream, guys. 24 views, but only 12 likes. Come on, people. That's just half. That's actually very high, just so you know. So I appreciate that. These are very high numbers, because usually on YouTube, the likes are about 5 to 10%. So 50%, that's amazing. Thank you. I never like any videos. I don't want anyone tracking what I like. Okay. Hey, Robert. That's hilarious. Robert is saying, me against the world. You lose again. Yeah. Oh, he must only be reading Twitch chat. No, it's TikTok, Ebony. And I'm responding to all the YouTube now, because I got to jump in between. Virginia Marie, well, you get tracked regardless. Heard of watch time cookies? No, he's catching up now on YouTube. There you go. Okay, so this is all very meta comments about what I'm doing at the moment. He reads these, Ebony, but he's further up. Yes, I am. I hope you're still here. Is this the trailer you last video uploaded? Yes, that is the trailer. Or the teaser. The new trailer is going to be a lot more robust. There's going to be a lot more elements in it. Okay, then, here's what I feel. if I ask you, who are you? Usually it's a long answer. Then I ask if you were born without arms, legs, eyes, ears, etc., and went straight from the womb to dark closet, and lived in there for years with no concept of this world, and a voice asks, who are you? There's only one response: I am. Right. So I could have saved you all this time, Virginia. I'm a long-time meditator. I've done many Vipassana retreats. Recently, not so much, but the aim is usually to meditate 2 hours a day. I'm familiar with this whole gestalt. So I'm familiar with everything you just said. However, the truth is that for most people, even if they're very experienced meditators, and most people are not, I don't know if you are, but all the people that I've noticed that I'm interacting with, for example, online, that are talking what you're saying right now online, if I catch them on a one-to-one, which happens sometimes, and we drill down to it, they don't really know what this means. That's my impression. That's my experience of it. They don't actually understand what these words mean. This is a thing that they say to somebody else because it makes them feel a certain way. It is not to say that nobody's experienced that, but I would submit to you that if the situation is that people who devoted 60, 50 lifetime of their time, of their lives, to try and really get to the core of what you're expressing right now, we're talking about monks, right? You don't see them walking around saying this to people, right? Because when you really get it, and I've been in states in which you get it, like you truly see the thing and you go, whoa, okay? When you truly get it, there's zero impulse to say these things online. So it doesn't mean it's impossible, but statistically it's much less likely that the person who is expressing these kind of thoughts online understand what they really mean. And I am aware that there is an awakening happening right now, and a lot more people kind of opening up, and they have a lot more awareness of that thing. But at no point should we drop common sense. So I'm saying all this because the I amness that you're referring to does not have a container. I've occupied that state. It does not have a central position. It does not have a want, a need. It does not feel divine. It just is. It's just the truth. And it refers to a particular phrase that in some Buddhist sects they keep repeating for hours, which is, there's no one here that all of this is happening to. And they just keep repeating it. There's no one here that all of this is happening to. In Dzogchen they do this a lot. And then eventually it dawns on you the truth of the fact that there's actually no one here that all of this is happening to. So I understand what you're saying, but I also understand that in the context of having these conversations online, there's a tendency, and again, I'm not necessarily saying you're doing it. You might be, you might not. I don't know. I don't know you. But I have noticed that people do this. They would say these things, and what they're designed to do is to make them appear a certain way. They're not speaking out of an understanding and the feeling of the truth of that. It's rare when that happens because it requires a lot of work, and most people don't want to put in the work. It's much easier to just leave a comment online. And I guess when you hear me, maybe resisting is the wrong word because I'm not truly resisting it, but when you hear me speak the speak that I speak now, it's usually as a response to this attitude that people have, because I actually want to shake them out of it, because I want them to understand that, like, you think you get it, but you don't. In order to truly get it, you actually have to put in some work. You actually have to sit down, your tuchas on a pillow every day, 2-3 hours, and after a few years, you'll start to understand. But if you haven't done that, the chances that you really understand, they're slim to none. And again, I'm not speaking to you directly. You need to understand that when I'm speaking, it's also kind of like, I'm projecting, obviously, because you guys are faceless, and I feel weirdly enough, I do feel the energy sometimes behind the words, and I'm connecting to that. But overall, I'm responding to a thought bubble that I'm familiar with from this kind of vibe of speaking. And usually the people that talk about the oneness and all that stuff, the next sentence out of their mouths is somehow diminishing something else in humanity. Like they would talk about particular individuals unfavorably, or they would you know, talk unfavorably about technology or science. There's going to be something that they don't like. And then they're going to talk about it in a very spiritual way, but they talk about it clearly they're not in the place where they think they are, right? And that's what I'm really, that's more my reaction to. And I always welcome the people that would correct me and say, no, actually, and this might be the case now. I don't know. I'm going to keep reading the comments, and your comment to me might be, well, you don't know this, but I've been a 40-year meditator. I've been to all the, like, you might fully correct me. You'll be like, hey, well, you kind of you barking at the wrong tree. Like everything you just said does not apply to me. And I'll be the first one who's like, oh, wonderful, amazing. Okay, let's talk about it. But then we're going to get to something else, right? The point is that when you truly meditate, and this is something that I think specifically with Vipassana, it's very well emphasized, not as a teaching, but as a thing that you experience, is that there literally no end to the number of onion rings, the onion layers that exist. So it starts with you going and, you sit there and you do the scanning and the whole thing, and then something, you have an insight. The insight, it's like an aha moment. You go like, oh wow, like I see this thing, and then it kind of sheds, right? And you feel lighter, and then it's like, oh my God. And then you realize that shedding, then you have an attachment to the shedding. And then you're like, oh, but I have to decouple from the attachment to the shedding. And then when you decouple, you feel proud. And you're like, now you have an attachment to the being proud of it, and it never ends. And this is really what the Buddha taught, which is at no point, if you really want to be liberated, at no point you should ever stop. Just no matter how amazing, thank you, Mother Loves Cakes, no matter how amazing it is, no matter how profound it feels, doesn't matter. It's all the same. Just move on. Right? But that's a very different kind of attitude. The sentiment behind the speak of everything you just said, right? Because this is a known little train of thought. What if, like, it's designed to point to, like, what is this thing in the middle, right? What is this thing in the middle that is? Yeah, you're right. There is nothing in the middle. But there's also not that oneness. The oneness is also a concept. So when you can go beyond that, experientially, not conceptually, not to say, well, ultimately we're all one. No, we're not. There is no one. There is no one here that all of this is happening to. It's just happening, right? So that's another way of seeing it. And a lot of people insist, no, we're all one. I'm like, okay, maybe, or maybe not. Have you considered that maybe that's not the case? So as long as you can always consider that what you're convinced of, even experientially, is not it, I would say you're on the right track. And I'm always trying to check myself, am I doing enough of this? I mean, in the end of the day, we're also having, our psychologies are very much intact, especially in a chat like this. This is definitely not just a spiritual talk kind of chat. And it has to be entertaining and, but ultimately, me as a person, I always try and really check myself. Like, am I doing this now because this is like an ego thing, because I want to sound interesting, or I want to say, I think, so it's fine. All of these things are fine as long as I progress along the path that I chose, which is that to get as close as I can to not attach to any of these concepts. And I guess my bottom line is that the second that people say we're all one, it's that oneness, my reaction is like, that's also a concept. It's still a concept. Okay, I said a lot, and you don't have a way to respond. And actually, you do have a way to respond. If you would like, I will definitely bring you on. If you want to come to TikTok, you can also speak. So you're more than welcome to do that. And I'm very much aware of the fact that it's a one way, and I get like basically all the time. And it's somewhat not fair. But this is why I'm trying to speak more generally and not so much to you in particular, with something that I believe has true value universally, no matter in what context it's being expressed. So now let me read through all the comments and see how far I went outside of what you meant, which happens very often. Okay. Why not try using all 3 RGB lasers together? National Trust to reveal hidden messages. Well, not just 3. You can use infinite number of them. I find the fact that we are seeing this now in the laser light as freeing. Not a coincidence, as you have said. All this stuff, etc., is happening the last 20 years. Humanity must move to adulthood. I could not agree more. Could not agree more. The 51 Project. You said it better than I, in a more concise way than I ever could. Why all of it? All that matters. There's only one I am, and it was lonely in the closet and wanted something more. I know all these concepts, but this is a story, right? Something other is great. I might. The funny thing is that I subscribe. This is the thing. I just don't like to preach to the choir. So like, I subscribe to everything you're saying. It's lovely to me. I love it. I love the idea that it's God that fractured itself to infinite pieces because it didn't want to know. I'm all for it because it's a great story and it might even be true on some level. Because I talk about it a lot, like how God probably fractured itself into to infinite pieces because it didn't want to be lonely. So there's this attitude of like trying to find out, which is the fun part, and also the element that is trying to just be, which is the more Eastern part. I'm all for it, but if I have to really ask myself, like, what is the truth? What is the more likely truth? The truth is more likely that we have no idea. And the insistence that it is the case is just another story. That I can say with an absolute certainty. Simulation hypothesis does give an out to so-called psychic experience and or magic, etc. Yes, it does. Title gifter. It's almost like the killer instinct. Title gifter. Thank you, Nico. I always appreciate you, man. Lucy, if you want to do this. Yeah, I think, actually, honestly, I think Lucy would be flagged. Let's find out. Because I think it's a known term. I've been using AI to create images. Ebony McKickass is saying, I've been using AI to create images based on what I've seen on the spirit molecule, and the AI is certainly accurate. What's that doing to the collective AI mind? Yeah, I know, it's wild, isn't it? I gave up Hoffman for Dimitri, but Lucy was a fave for a while back in the day. I don't have time for 12. Yeah, that's basically the story. 12 hours is too long. Spirit molecule plus meditation. Happy me. Oh, you're speaking my language, Ebony McKickass. Nomad just rake saying, do you think that the laser interacts with the state of the particles on the projected surface that allows for the code to be revealed? Or the laser bouncing back the light itself that contains the code? No, I think it's in the surface, but I don't think it's in the particles because the particles are way too small. I think it has something to do with how holograms work, and I'm working on figuring out exactly how. A great question. I like it. I'm wondering if other types of light have the same properties. I'm just saying that I am design the code, so to speak, keep the illusion of separation going. And I'm saying, Virginia, that neither you nor I can possibly know this. The insistence that we can know this is an idea. It can't be anything else. The truth can't be expressed in a simple idea like this. I think you would agree with that. There's no one here that all of this is happening to. This is the voicemail messages from the local government. This is great. Okay, I've ignored TikTok entirely, so let me read some comments from TikTok and then we'll go back to it. So we'll do 2 more rounds and then I'll adjourn for today. Thank you everybody for being here. So let me read a few more comments. Okay. I'm also gonna this is the part where I have to stop reading all of them out loud and I have to kind of go through them because sometimes questions are very repetitive. So please don't take it personally if I skip your question. Okay. You're working for me. I'm only speaking for me. You weren't sure what my basic beliefs are, and that I believe I am. Anything else is. So it's not so much. I understand the thing there, and I understand that maybe it sounded like I'm like singling you out. It was not my intention at all. It's not about what works for you, what doesn't work for others. You can have your own personal frame. My only point is that it is a frame and it's an idea. If you believe that you actually know for a fact, I want to emphasize, if you think you know for a fact that you are that one that created everything, my thing I'm putting forth is you can't possibly know that. You can only have an idea about it that might be so insistent that it seems to be like a no, I just know it. The truth can't be expressed in an idea. Like the truth, whatever it is, it would encompass everything, right? And even the experience of being everything still is not containing all of it. That's all I'm saying. It's not that it doesn't have a merit or a value. And like I said, I even subscribe. Like you and I would totally agree and vibe and like we agree on that. But I have to always challenge myself to think beyond what seems plausible to me. The only thing I can say about the code is that I know that it's there. The only thing I can say about the beings that I'm interacting with in the molecule space is that they're real, because they exhibit the same characteristics of real beings and real things, just like humans are, right? But I can't say anything beyond that. They're telling me a lot of things, but all I can say with any uncertainty is what I compare it to other things that are like that. In the example that you gave about like if you would be just closed in a room in a and you have no senses and you would just be in there, well, you don't know because nobody has ever experienced that, right? And you will never know somebody would experience that. That's not a possibility because it's not a realistic scenario. So because this is what science does, it takes all these ideas that are plausible and it tests them to see what in fact is happening. Now, I know that we live in an age where science sometimes is a dirty word, which I will never understand. And this is something that I think Whitehead once said, and I really love this quote. He said, anything is possible, it's just that certain things went through the formality of actually existing. And I think that's exactly right. Yes, anything technically is possible, but if we want to dial it into something that is functional and relevant to all of us, by the way, including things that connects us more, connects us to ourselves, all the good things that you would want to see more in the world, and I would too, right? People connected more to themselves, to other people, to nature, to feel what we're doing to the earth, connect more with animals. All of these things, even these things, are based on truths about what humans are and how they are in certain situations. And they require an understanding of what the real situation is versus what we think it is. And because in this case, we're interacting with a concept that is so out there that it's never really under any scrutiny, because it can't be, because we're talking about something ultimate, right? But even in these examples, they are a little vacuous of content because you can't actually know, right? If you're really asking me the question about what if you wouldn't have the arms and I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody ever experienced that, right? And nobody can experience that. What if it's true that if that would be the case, then that thing would never know it's a thing? What if neuroscientists are actually right and it's all contextual? So it's all relational to one another. And if there's nothing to be in relation to, then there is nothing that it's like to be you. What if that's true? It's also possible. So I always ask, this is why I asked you in the beginning, what is the relevance of this to how you appropriate yourself in the world? If the answer is it makes you feel that it makes you behave in a better way and it makes you live a more meaningful life, that's a great answer. I'm all for it. But are you aware that that's why you're doing it? Or maybe you think that it doesn't matter to be aware of these things. I think it does, but you might think that it doesn't. That was my only point. It's not that I can... And no, we absolutely can say to one another, this thing that works for you, right, or that you think, it has implications. It doesn't exist all by itself randomly. whatever you say has an implication for other things. And I think it's important that we always incorporate as much of our holistic understanding about everything we think and do and how we see the world and how we interact with one another, being aware of how what we do and express influences other people. All of these things have to constantly be at play if we are, to become more than what we are at the moment. I honestly think that, for at least from what I'm absorbing from you right now, like 99% of what you would say if we would like meet up somewhere, like if we were hanging out at a party or something, 99% of the stuff that you would say, I would agree with, because I'm all for it. I just think that always stretching ourselves is a good thing. And this is one of the ways in which I always try to stretch myself, which is like how many of the things I'm convinced that are might not be. The idea of a non-dual is nothing like the experience of a non-dual. Exactly. Like, dude, you guys are killing it today with the. This is such a great way of putting it. I was chasing the source of the I on a mushroom evening, and when I almost cornered the I ego, it started to growl, and make all kinds of onomatopoeia to derail the train of thought. I think I understand. I just don't know how to read this word. You guys, you gotta lay off with a super sophisticated words. It's hard for me to read. Oh, okay, hold on. Okay, I do. Okay, I'm gonna read some of the comments on TikTok because I definitely ignored it for way too long. I probably lost a bunch of people in the way. Okay, so we're with TikTok. I don't even know how far back I have to go. Woo, there's so much. Mandalovsky's love certain terms that I use. I love it. I've been paralyzed by hallucinations to the point where all I could say was I am. There you go. $55, no one liking, which is totally free. That's wild. Thank you, love. I think so. Thank you, randomish. I don't know what you were referring to, Jelly Donuts, when you were saying that's so boomer, because I said many things. But I'm not a boomer, so I'm a boomerang maybe. So organic stuff are made of code. Can it be replicated then? Well, obviously. That's not real. That's only now. Now it's the only thing that is real. Oh, I love the dropping the artificial from AI and just calling everything intelligence. Exactly. And the difference between us and, I guess, it, at the way to perceive it in the moment, is that we have consciousness, and it, as far as we know, does not. I've been paralyzed. Thank you for sharing, Rosalind. This is not. None of this was to say that there is no value in saying I am and experiencing yourself as I am. But I am telling you without a shadow of a doubt that the I amness of it is itself a concept. It's a construct. You can actually go beyond that. There's no when there's just the room. There's just what's happening. Well, it seems like there's not too many comments that are like questions. More like comments. Speak that you speak. that you should. Are you creating a little notebook of my quotes, Mandalovskis? Because like okay. Okay, so it's mostly people just making comments, which is great, but there's nothing for me to respond to. Okay, well, I guess we didn't miss that much. There's a lot of comments about corn. You can't believe that I'm actually live right now. What do you mean? Okay. Where did you first discover this? In LA, I guess. I'm gonna start having conversations with myself. Did you hear about? Oh man, it just jumped. Okay. So this is a perfect example, by the way, as to the kind of cognitive dissonance that I'm noticing. So notice what you said. You said we're not supposed to know what happens. You know why? So first of all, how do you know this, right? Second of all, because we're supposed to enjoy it and don't ever overthink. Okay. The only reason you and I talking right now is because somebody had to overthink to make this phone and the technology and everything else that you're enjoying right now, including your house, your car, and everything else. So if you don't see it, I can't help. I've always thought about what if we were all technically immortal beings that were tired of eternity. Yeah, I mean, I've even experienced that in some of the states. But if I have to be honest, I've still experienced it from a point of view. And I have experienced a state that has no point of view. So if I know that it's possible to have no point of view at all, even as a human, imagine what is truly possible in the ultimate scheme of things. That alone should be the hint that the chances that we grasped it with our minds so well that we can articulate it in a comment on a social media app, that ain't it. Okay, so I think actually TikTok gave me an easy time because I literally didn't have to go through too much of it because it was all comments. Okay, go back to YouTube and then we'll slowly adjourn. Who need to be in control to feel safe? The art of letting go. It can be scary for people who need to be in control to feel safe. That's common. I don't know if that's what it's like for you. I mean, yeah, I think letting go is scary for everybody on different levels. Well, and Lucy, I find really easy to let go, even smoke weed, because I feel like I take deeper that into space. Ultimately, I think people are going to have to stop looking for the answer and just accept their own. It's ultimately your experience. It's my word for the day. Ultimately. Yeah, I would agree with that. Until it comes to things that you actually have to make work. Absolutely agree that we just don't know, but no harm in trying to define ourselves, even though it's futile. Oh, I agree with that. Like I said, you and I will probably agree on 99%, maybe even 100%, honestly. I'm just stretching my own thoughts while speaking to the other avatars, right? And what fun would it be if we just gave up trying to define ourselves? Well, I mean, now it's kind of like the opposite of the first thing, but I would agree with that. I do enjoy this, whatever this is. So, oh, awesome, Jimmy K. Definitely feels like a letting go thing for me. I don't understand why I have such a different reaction with these molecules, though. One day I'm sure I'll get there. I feel ya. Can you tell us more about what you see when looking into the laser? I mean, it's on all the videos across all the platforms. So unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be saying much more than that. Uh, what seems to be Japanese mixed with some Hebrews and some regular characters. I'm working with a 3D artist, a VR expert, to recreate something that is much more specific. They just flagged us and restricted us. I don't know why. Two restrictions. What is it about? Let's see. Some audiences, that makes sense. Okay, I don't know what this is. It's kind of crazy that they don't the W word. I don't know what is that word. But yeah, it's kind of crazy that they don't tell you why they restrict you, so you can't really correct it. I don't know anything for a fact, and that's a fact. There you go. Now you're speaking my language. You've come across this for a reason. There's a purpose to it. What you get out of it is for your experience. There are millions don't know about this discovery. What does it mean to you to be aware? Good question. Hey Dan, could it be the case that the exact light wave and diffraction has a repeatable effect amongst different people, not that it is showing something objective? How have multiple people confirm the same visual at once? Just considering everything else that I'm seeing in this space, like the console and my interaction with the beings, and everything is so perfectly tied in a coherent frame, I would say not very likely, no. But I also know that when people see it for themselves, they just know it automatically. White. Sorry. Wait, what? Oh. That's hilarious. Thank you. What are the snacks? Snacks can be fun. Experience is our most valuable guide, yes, especially when we learn to interpret it and create a roadmap from it. I find it hard to embrace the Eastern idea that we should distrust our own experiences. So mechanical elves, that is not what the Eastern tradition is telling you at all. In fact, it tells you to lean into experience fully. It tells you that when you look at experience close enough, it doesn't even tell you that, it just shows you how to do that. When you look at it close enough, you discover that it just kind of breaks apart. Like the central unit is not there. So if anything, it's the opposite of not trusting your senses. It's trusting your experience and nothing else. Excuse me. I am definitely puts me in a good space of love and compassion and connecting that can't make you anything but better. Obviously, in my opinion. I agree with that. Like I said, that was my only question. For example, seeing the code is an experience. Okay. I had no intent of lengthy attention, really just had those first two questions. And yeah, and I never disagree that I am is anything but just another concept. Yeah. So, and this is why I made sure to mention and emphasize that when I'm going on my tangents, it's obviously, of course, I understand that most likely what you said specifically is probably not what you fully meant, and I would ask you for other clarifications if we would be speaking person to person. But because it is not the case, and we're speaking basically more like, I'm on a live in front of, 100 people, I have to kind of make some creative choices about what is the thing that I think would be the most relevant and universal that would give some value to the listeners. And again, I will emphasize it again. Of course, I understand that there's a lot of nuance in what you're saying and what your actual state of mind is. I do not know. If it would be in person, it would be very different. What would you say to a skeptic who might doubt your findings? Well, depending on the specific, it depends on the specific level and reason for skepticism. That would be an important thing to know. It's just one I've connected to most years now. I see. Going beyond the I am, would you find the expensive unity? I do not know. I don't think anybody can know. Oh, shrimp, need more water. Your discovery is super inspiring. I've been thinking about it for months now. Thanks for sharing. Thank you so much, Max. I appreciate you. Always good to hear good words. Dan, thank you for the time and have a great night. Have a good night, Virginia. Thank you so much. I hope you come back. I'm here every day. I know you can't talk about it too much, but is there any updates on you given about the console? It's not that I can't talk about it, it's that I'm working on a video specifically about it, and for some reason, always talking about the console takes a lot of energy out of me, so I pick my moments there. It's not that I can't talk about it. How do we know we're not experiencing time in reverse? I have no idea. Did you already go into the console then? I'm late at the party. No, I wasn't talking about it today. Is there a way to unlock the visuals without the psychedelics? At the moment, as far as I know, there's only 3 people that I know for sure saw it without the molecule. So I'm sure there is a way. I just don't know what it is. It would be interesting to find out what else can open your mind in that way, so that it is not entirely connected to the molecule, just to the state of consciousness. I agree. Could they possibly be error correcting codes in the fractal holographic light matrix that we're living in? A method to actually see the Adinkra codes? Maybe. I'm not leaving. I am always here. Was just wishing you a good night. Oh, thank you so much, Virginia. We do have all the available tech to deep dive in this philosophical question regarding reality. Are there anyone that tries to compare the facts with experienced shamans? I am a little reluctant to do that, because I already know that it will always be folded into the frames that I already have, and these frames are very valuable for guiding people through these spaces and making sense of some of these experiences for them. What I'm personally interested in is actually getting to the bottom of what in fact it is. And yes, I know some people will insist there is no such thing as what it actually is. I disagree. I think there is such a thing as what it actually is, and that's what I'm interested in. And I'm not so much interested in the frames of what other people think it is, but in what it really is. And that requires a little bit of a different set of tools and conceptual frameworks, and different emphasis of epistemology, and definitely different interplays of different ontologies. So all of that, I feel like talking to people that have very strong frames of what they think it is, or convinced that it is, can be valuable for reference, but they're actually counterproductive to what I'm trying to do. While the YouTube comments are far more intelligent than, I don't know what TT stands for. I once had the thought, sitting on the couch, that we are in fact the molecule projected into this dimension. It's a rather crude summary, but what do you feel about the statement? I think what the molecule does is it allows you to see more frames per second of reality itself. Oh, TikTok, I see. Maybe. I have some pretty intelligent guests on TikTok, just so you know. I'm heading. Oh, dried apricots. Well, that's very healthy. I like it. This is the start of my spiritual journey. Where would I begin? I always recommend with something that is grounding, and this is what I will always say, that at least for me, it's clear that it should be with vipassana, with things that are easy to get into. They're free. They not require too much of you, aside from showing up, doing the practice, and then practicing every day. Then if you want to expand to, I don't know, certain molecules, certain helpers that can see you things beyond, all great tools, but first ground yourself in some way. It can be vipassana, it can be somebody who's really good at that, but always grounding is a good way to start. How can I discuss what I found that adds to your simulation proof currently writing the math model? Just email me. lasersimulationx@gmail.com. lasersimulationx@gmail.com. Okay, guys. TikTok crowd can cook the tubers. Oh, there's a YouTube TikTok feud. I didn't realize. Okay, last question then. Reading. Probably some questions are repeating. Have you tried attempting out of body experience and through laying still for 90 minutes around 3 a.m. and put your body to sleep? And so you're talking kind of, oh my God. You're kind of talking about some of the kind of like either Silva method, or more specifically with the 90 minutes, it's closer to the gateway protocol. Yes, I have. And there's some interesting results there. But we can talk about this some other day, because tonight I will have to adjourn. Guys, one more reminder. I have started my. So, first of all, you can follow me across all platforms. It's Danny Goller on TikTok and Instagram, Goller Danny on X, LaserX83 on Twitch, and Dango Thoughts, Dango Thoughts on YouTube. You can follow me across all the platforms. You can check out my links in the link tree in the description on TikTok. And I have started my members program on YouTube, which is brand new, and I promise to bring it up to speed with everything that I believe will bring value to people. So if you feel inclined and you want a more personal interaction with me, which will also help me to do this more full time, please do so. And you will also be one of the first ones to help me figure it out in a way that will bring more value to more people. So, and oh yeah, it is a full moon today. It's a super moon. It is kind of wild and crazy and big. Okay. Thank you so much, Ebony McKickass. I am also expecting my interview with Night Shift and Clint. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. Thank you so much for always joining, for showing love and support and interest. Really appreciate everybody. Peace and love. See you tomorrow. Ciao. See you tomorrow.